So how many lasers do you think you come into contact with every day? Any idea? Do you have a CD player? Do you have a Blu-ray player or a DVD player? Have you ever used fiber broadband? Most of you probably have it at home. Have you a mobile phone within reach of you right now? So lasers are actually one of the most useful tools that we have ever developed. But a lot of people seem to think of them as either a novelty or something they have seen in science fiction. So lasers actually are very complicated. They're much more complicated than putting a magic crystal into a sword in order to fight space Nazis. So what we have is we take a bunch of atoms and we bounce them back and forth between two mirrors. So as we're bouncing them back and forth, we're adding energy to the atoms. So every time they get bounced back and forth, they gain a little bit more energy. And the more and more energy they gain, eventually they're forced to release another particle called a photon. This photon releases light. So when you're bouncing the atoms back and forth, this is amplification. When you force it to release the little photon, that's called stimulated emission. And this little photon is actually a form of radiation that we call light. So therefore, you end up with light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, a laser. Physicists really like to use acronyms for things, so as they're lazy. So we've got our little photon here, and you'll notice if you've ever used a laser that all of the light that comes out of it is the same color. That's actually a really important property of light. We call it being in phase and coherent. And due to that property, we're able to use lasers for some really incredible things. We can detect tiny changes in gravity being caused by two black holes colliding billions of kilometers away. We can also use it to cut the materials that are used to make your mobile phone. So next time you hear it being thrown, words like coherence and in phase being thrown around on the bridge of a starship, you'll actually know what it means. It's usually being used wrong, but at least you'll know what it means. So they are really incredibly powerful tools. I'd have loved to bring one down here tonight to show you, but when I asked, I was treated to a talk about health and safety and how I was going to burn down the whole building, but that is because actually lasers are really, really dangerous and they're really powerful. So next time you are playing with your cat or you're watching Picard Save the Galaxy, you can think about that.